sandwiches, ice cream, coffee and snacks, and many other pleasing treats. Our foods are fresh and tasty, our drinks satisfying and refreshing. They're so good.
Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In.
And now, on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In, episode number 61. And with me is the multi-talented, very fabulous, very sensual man of action, Mr. Jason Tripp. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing just fine. That's the best description I've ever heard. Sensual man of action.
That's your new tagline for... See, the next film that you do, what you need to do is, you need to make like a 70s exploitation drama, sensual man of action.
I love it. I want to play Ron Jeremy, sort of.
Yeah, think of it like Dirk Diggler's character in Boogie Nights.
You're right.
When they're filming their kung fu action film, him and the other guy.
Yeah, right. No, it'll be good no matter what, but I feel I have to have a mustache.
Oh, yes. It's essential for 70s exploitation, action movies. Think of it as the white version of like Dolomite or Shaft, and you'll be fine. So
I'm ready for that.
So get working on that script, and maybe next summer.
Yeah, when we're done, I'm calling Shane because I think this is something he's going to want to write.
I just want a cameo as the fat bartender who everybody goes to for advice type thing.
Oh, I love that guy. Like a white Isaac Hayes or white Isaac from The Love Boat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want that role. That's what I want to do in the film. So even though I'm a terrible bartender at making drinks, but whatever. I'll fake it till I make it,
And we'll just wait and see how your advice works out.
Yeah. Well, this is the opposite of The Love Boat. This is the, I'm not good at any advice, so I'm the wrong person to come to. But so Jason's an actor, musician. He's been around and doing both for quite a while. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got started in acting and music?
Well, I was just fascinated by this. I'll give you the really short, quick story. When I was 6, I was running around the house, thought I was the Bionic Man and was making all the sound effects. And my father was desperately trying to watch sports on television and finally said, "Look, sit down. I'm going to tell you something." And in an effort to derail me, he explained that the man that I was emulating was simply an actor and that he wasn't really bionic. And after his explanation and trying to get me to calm down, I thought about it for about 4 seconds, and I remember looking at him and saying, "Well, you mean that's his job? He gets paid to do that?" And he said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, that's the greatest thing ever." And it didn't derail me at all and probably caused me to do a lot of things in the last couple decades I shouldn't have. But Dad, he was horrified, and he also thought that was great because he had actually tried to be an actor himself, had gone to Hollywood when he was a young man, had an agent and the whole 9 yards, and he kind of watched me sort of do the same thing, and I think he thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting that was kind of in the lineage even maybe before you knew it,
Yeah, I had no idea, and he told me years later. I mean, he'd gone to parties that Jack Warner held back in the late 50s and 60s and stuff, but it never stopped fascinating me. And by the time I got to high school, of course, this theater offered in most high schools. At MDI, it's a tremendous program. I never got to do it there. I made it through 2 years of high school. Both years I was in theater and drama in Florida, in Palm Bay, Florida, for the time, and did plays and did theater. But I've never stopped doing it. I've done community theater, and when I finally found my way, I got a headshot and got agents and went out and joined the fray, I would call it, because auditions are it's like a meat market. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I've never gone to any auditions. The few things that I've ever done is mostly been with friends, so it's never been, that's never been part of the process for me. But I have listened to enough podcasts with actors and directors that that's one of the things like everybody hates is auditions and how people are treated, and it's just the competitive, like, cutthroat nature of it, and everybody's just vicious and not only the other people auditioning, but also the casting directors and
Oh, they're awful. And it is. It's like this pinnacle of hatred in what you do. You've got to do all these things, but at an audition, you've been given the lines you're supposed to do, or you haven't, because they like to do that too. Oh, here's a sheet, or you've got to say this and try to remember it. But you go in and with your best intention, and you get stuffed in a green room with 30 other people, or 40 or 50, and they're all incredibly competitive, and you just want to get a job. And there's going to be one person selected, and once you walk into that room and realize that there are like 50 people there, you probably aren't going to get it, and you're probably wasting a day, but you got to try anyway. And I remember one particular audition. In the green room, I sat down. It was for a professional commercial. The pay was pretty good, and I sat down, and the first question I was asked by all the other by the actor sitting next to me was, have you seen, I don't remember if the movie's Gone with the Wind or, The Godfather. He started explaining a scene about the Godfather and said I looked like some character. And I made the huge mistake of saying out loud, well, I've never seen The Godfather. Oh, you would honestly thought that I'd shot somebody in the room, and I got chastised, and and other actors are in the corner handing each other headshots, explaining, like, hey, if your agent gets work for a guy that looks like me, and that's never going to happen. It's a competitive, cutthroat world. You go
right.
They're tossing that.
They're tossing that in the trash on their way out. Like, fuck this dude,
Yeah, it's like, why would you even bother? I don't want to look at your face. I just saw it. And I remember I went in, and the deal with this audition was we were supposed to be two paramedics, me and this other guy, who rushed onto the badminton court after a badminton player who wasn't paying attention broke his leg on the return serve, whatever. And the other guy I walked in with was a pro in the business. He'd been packaging movies for years for people. He had done this for years, so he had a lot of time under his belt. And we walked in, and the casting director had his cameraman turn the camera over to us, and he was like, okay, this is what's happening, explained the whole thing. All right, and action. And as soon as he said action, his cell phone rang. And when it did, he reached down and picked it up. He never said stop. And as he picked it up, he just left the room. And this other guy finally stood up and was like, hey, do you want us to stop? And the casting director turned around and just over his shoulder went, nah, keep going. It's all on film. We'll get it later. And I thought, Jesus, this is, and I really thought the guy was going to go over and punch the casting director for being just so arrogant. But that's the way it is. You're there for your moment to do this. You're trying very hard to do the best you can and get your head around whatever foolish thing they want you to say or do. And all these things are kind of like in your way, and these obstacles, people, and they're just, and like you said, it's competition, and it's just driven, and most people aren't paying attention to anything but themselves. It's kind of like this crazy, I don't know, medieval melee that goes on, and then one person emerges victorious with a role, big deal.
The champion, yeah.
Yeah, I made it on TV, dude, all right.
I think it's like, you look at, certain directors and actors that constantly work together, and the more that I have learned about the behind the scenes aspects of filmmaking and just from, being friends with certain people and listening to like podcasts and stuff like that. There's a reason a lot of actors work with the same director over and over because they don't have to go through the bullshit. The director calls them up and says, "Hey, I've got a part in mind for you for blah, blah, blah. And, I want you to play Johnny Boy in my new film, The Love Canal. And, I pretty much wrote it for you. Okay. There's
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. I think I'd flip the coin too, and even go as far as to say that a lot of directors do that with the same talent, simply because talent isn't, just because you're an actor don't mean you're normal. So,
right.
If they find somebody they know works well and works well with them and shares their vision with how they want to portray a character, I think it becomes very symbiotic, because I think directors go through a lot of that too. It isn't always the director that gets, on bigger films, any mid to larger size project, unlike what we do, it's not as hands-on. There's so many people who have their fingers in the pie, and usually the director isn't the one that's picking who's going to be in the film.
Right.
They may have the final say, but you've got casting directors to do this who are picking archetype characters out of faces, and it's very disconnected in a way. So I think when directors and actors actually, can be together and work together, and they know it works, and they know exactly what to expect from each other, that's probably why you see those relationships continue on for a while.
Like Kevin Smith is a prime example of using a lot of people over and over.
Exactly.
Adam Green's another one you see that uses a lot of the same actors. Rob Zombie, a lot of those guys. Yep. Especially, it seems really more prevalent to me in like the horror genre, especially.
Yep.
Like a lot of the horror directors really, they have their, they may add a few new people here and there for a film, but, you've got like this core stable of like 7 or 8 actors that, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 of them in almost every film, that they put out type thing. And I'm okay with that, because most of the time it works, and you can tell there's a good working relationship by the performances you see, because everybody's comfortable with each other.
Well, it's kind of like watching a family that makes a film, and we're going to be something different every time, and it's kind of fun to watch them, actually do their craft and make it different. And I would say probably in horror, because a lot of it is a very different type of acting for the most part. There's a lot more, there's plenty of focus on the gore and the effects, and maybe today there's a lot more, what am I trying to say? Not practical effects, but actually CGI stuff.
Right. So you got to green screen it, so you're acting against something that's not there, or...
Yeah, exactly. And I think being comfortable with that, and the fact that it's horror and you're doing stuff outside of just doing dialogue things or drama building or whatever, if you're comfortable with each other, it works better, because I have a feeling if Shane had taken somebody he really didn't know, or we hadn't had the chance to get to know a little bit, down to the mill when we did all the blood and gore, and was like, hey, you're just going to spend the next 2 days covered in blood trying to act like you're horrified. That's not, it's fun for a little bit, but after a while, the blood's cold, and you really want to laugh about stuff and not look sad, and there's a lot of reasons not to want to do necessarily horror stuff.
Oh yeah, and then I think in a lot of cases, a lot of the genre actors that are really, noted for horror, I think a lot of them, you listen to them talk, they really adore doing horror. They enjoy it, they enjoy the whole experience, and the blood and the guts and the effects and the. Just, it seems like it takes almost a special breed to really do that, because, a lot of great actors have gotten their start in horror, but you don't see them going back to it. I've seen actors that I know there's no reason they shouldn't have blown up and become huge, but they kind of just seem like they want to stick to the genre they're comfortable with. You know?
Right. Yep. Yep. I think horror, and this would probably be just kind of off the top of my head, I would say the people that really like acting in horror and making it and making these films, they're like the ultimate big children playing make-believe. Because, well, in a way, because, I mean, sure, you go do a romantic comedy, you know, and you're Jeff, the dude that goes on a cruise with his girlfriend and everything goes wrong. I mean, you're just Jeff.
Right.
But if you're the dude that goes into some, well, let's say a weird funded clinic for people with a strange disease that causes them to eat people in their sleep, I mean, that's a fantasy world. That's hopefully not real. and it's kind of fun because, I mean, even though it's a movie and you've got the lights and you're just shooting scenes and stuff, the time that you're in those scenes, you're really playing like honest to God, 6-year-old. Oh, look, here's this, I'm going to make this little place, my house and make this my kitchen. And you're just making it up. Like real honest to God make believe, because there's situations that you are hopefully never going to encounter.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh, for sure. You know, and I think you know, it seems to me that a lot of, you know, like a lot of people that you talk to, like in your case, were very creative minded children. Like they could build those fantasy worlds and spend hours by themselves, you know, playing pretend.
Oh shit, I'm still alone.
You know, well, you know, me too. You know, I turned my obsession with that stuff into writing. You know, I've always enjoyed acting. When I've done it, you know, in plays in school and stuff, and in the little bit of experience I've had outside of that. But I turned it into writing because that's the only thing I really, you know, at the time growing up, and even up until recently, it's the only access I really had to get that creative stuff out. You know, for years, for me, being a musician, it was writing lyrics.
Right.
You know, that's how I got those stories in my head kind of out on a sheet of paper. But, you know, when I got done playing music, I started writing again, and now, you know, I do it that way. And I've always loved acting, and I've always wanted to do more of it and kind of get involved with that whole thing. But it was one of those things, like living in Maine where I do, it's like I don't know how to approach doing that, nor do I have the time to travel to really, you know, travel too far to do it and whatever. So,
I think in a way you really just hit unknowingly on why we're being successful with people and why people are working with us and able to do these things. We are making films for no money. Obviously, the people are volunteering their time, and that's how it started. Now, whether we take budgets in the future and people get paid, that's down the line. That's not part of what we're thinking about. We're thinking about just making more make-believe.
right.
And what you said is right. We're in Maine. So the closest you're going to get to really getting to play make-believe, if you're a big child like we seem to be,
Yep.
you know, is going to Portland. And even then it's becoming that industry. And then you get into Boston, which is much more selective. And then it's New York, the free for all. And then if you really, really want to go out west, good luck.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, this is an opportunity, and we've seen this with the people that we've worked with for the last couple of years. They get to do what they want to do, which is to act or to do this or to do something behind the scenes in film or make sets or whatever it is they want to do that has to do with making movies. They're actually getting to do it. And they would have no opportunity to do it otherwise. And I think that's one of the things we talk about when we talk about how cemetery theater is progressing and becoming cohesive. You know, just something where we got a name, we just keep making movies. We haven't stopped and we don't plan to. It's pretty much because of that. We're going to make movies. It's not about, you know, how much money can we make? It's more really about let's do this, and the people that we all work with get to have the same experience because we're all just a big bunch of children who want to play make-believe. And making movies is about as much of that as you can possibly get into.
You know, it was, and I think you definitely nailed it right on the head. You know, a prime example of that was when Shane put out the call for people for behind the scenes commentary and stuff for the Sleep Eaters Blu-ray. And he was, you know, he asked me to come down and be a part of that, even though I wasn't actually involved in the film, which was very cool. And I had a blast. But to show up there and see 40 or 50 people taking time out of their Saturday to spend half a day doing that stuff shows you, you know, the community that you guys have built with Cemetery Theater in the Bangor area. You know,
it's amazing. I mean, we had some of these people drove as far as Vermont.
Wow.
Just to be there that day. And they came from all over the state and different places that they come from downstate and everywhere else. I think on that day, and we were very happy you were there. Doesn't matter if you were in the film. We just like having people around, I guess.
Right.
But, I think Shane and I both shook our heads just in disbelief when we kind of arrived there and all these people were there, and it was like, good Lord. Really? Is this what we did? We can't believe it. This is great. And the day was very nice. It was a great day. And I think, you know, just as it was when we made the movie, when we all got together, we were having a great time. That's what we do. We really hate having a bad time, I guess.
Right. And, you know, that's understandable. You never want to have a bad time, and I'm sure it does happen, but having that tight-knit kind of community aspect, I'm sure alleviates some of the shittiness of it when something is bad. You know, you're probably a little more able to work through it or deal with the situation because there might not be, you know, as I always said, it doesn't matter what level of art you are on, whether you're a young musician, a young actor, or a veteran musician or actor, there's always some level of ego with the artistic craft.
Oh, always. Yeah. That seems to be a fact.
But when when it's more of I found whether it be music or anything else, when there's more of a family type atmosphere involved, it doesn't seem to be as catastrophic.
No, the patience level is there where when nobody knows each other and things start going wrong on a set and all of a sudden you're looking at reshoot days and the director's pulling his hair out like, I don't even know when we can schedule it. And you're just like, you know, oh no, everybody's just being hateful. But when things happen when we're doing these things and we've all gotten to know each other and work well together, it's kind of like, okay, well, fine, we'll do that. It's another day to all hang out,
yeah.
You know? So.
Well, you know, the day Shane and I went to shoot the video for the Kickstarter for Chum.
Oh, yeah.
We spent a whole afternoon just basically goofing off and having fun and making each other laugh and redoing take after take after take.
Yeah.
And just, you know, and it was a fun afternoon. We killed like 3 hours, you know, just doing takes for that. And, you know, like I said, having a good time. And I enjoyed the hell out of that. That to me was fun. I enjoy that sort of thing, you know. It doesn't get me down that, oh shit, we got to do it again. Oh shit.
We're going to give away the secret that all we're doing is just running around having a bunch of fun.
And, you know, that was one thing, like I said, I wasn't directly involved with Sleep Eaters at all. And I went to the premiere and, you know, you want to talk about the community aspect. Almost the entire cast and crew for the film showed up on top of other people that came.
They did.
And, you know, the theater was just, like sold out pretty much.
And
I got to sit there and watch it for the first time, you know, and it was so great to hear everybody in the audience reacting to different parts and cheering and having a good time. But you could tell by what come across on the screen that you guys had fun doing it.
Oh, we did. And you can tell that. There's a heart to this bizarre film that we made in the last year and a half. And we've scratched our heads about that. Like, you know, what is it? Is it a horror movie? Well, not really. Is it an action film? Yeah, but not really. I mean, the only thing we can truly say about it, and it was so much fun to make it. And I'm really pleased that you can see that, through watching the film, that people are not, it was fun. We had a great time making it. And the only thing we know about it, it's not a romantic comedy.
I don't know. There could be, some romantic comedy elements in there, depending on how you want to look at the film. And
there could be.
And if you have a really warped sense of humor.
Yes.
I was going to say it was the best rom-com of 2017, but,
Oh, gee. Well, hopefully you haven't seen any others, and we are high above the rest.
I haven't. That would be the only rom-com of 2017 that I have
Perfect.
seen. So,
that works out really well. I think that maybe Reggie and Kelly have kind of a bromance going on, but that's it.
Yeah. There's very much a bromance between those two characters.
Yeah. And then Reggie just has to break Kelly's heart by selling him. That's nice.
Well, that's what you do to your friends, you sell them.
And that's why we're on top, because no other romantic comedy has people being sold into bondage.
Hey, there you go. That's the way to do it. Now, Sleep Eaters is going to be out on DVD and Blu-ray very soon.
Very soon.
So, can you give me a little information about that and where people are going to be able to check that out?
Good Lord, you've asked me the one question I don't know anything about. I believe, and without getting hurt by partners I might have, I believe we will see this released in May. We are going to be taking pre-orders at the Comic-Con on Saturday.
Which I will also be at right beside you guys, because I made sure we got our tables next to each other.
That's awesome, because sometimes you just don't know. And I don't know if you've been to Comic-Cons. There can be some strange people there. I'm not kidding.
If I need to be around strange people, at least it needs to be strange people I know and I'm friends with.
Yeah, we're weird and friendly. Like, some of those people are just weird, and I'm glad you're going to be beside us. That's fantastic.
I figured it would probably be a good idea, because I know we are going to talk a little bit about Chum and trying to get some people interested in what's going on with that, and kind of previewing what's going to be going on with the shoot.
Yep, that's exciting.
I can't wait. I'm super excited, because this is the first thing that I've ever written that I've had adapted. So, and I'm really happy with the screenplay that Shane came up with, and that we had some back and forth on it. And, he really went out of his way to make sure that I was happy with it and that I had some input on a few things. And, because he did have to change the script around a little bit in order to make it work. Because
for the screen.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, the page, the visual medium is very different from the written word sometimes. You can't really, it's very hard to have a film that's all narrative and
Right.
Though The Quiet Place did nail that pretty much on the head, because there's like 8 lines of dialogue in the whole film. But
right.
So, and I was very happy with it, and I made a few suggestions, and there was a few he liked, and he incorporated those in, and I'm really, really excited that I, get a small role in it, and get to see it come to life, and I'm super excited about Ron Young being cast as Freddy, because it was really funny when Shane put out the casting call for that character. When I wrote that character, as a writer, you kind of have the character in your head when you're writing.
Oh yeah.
And I was looking at the different people that were responding to it, and I saw his headshot, and I immediately sent a message to Shane, and I'm like, dude, this Ron Young guy is pretty much exactly what I had in mind for Freddie Ricker when I was writing that story. The beard, just the look. I was like,
no, he looks perfect for it. He really does.
And then, looking at his credits and checking out some of his work, I was like, yeah, I think this is definitely the right guy for it. And Shane definitely agreed. And, I'm very excited to have him playing that role.
No, I think he'll be perfect for it. I think he will make the character come to life. Absolutely.
And it also helps that he's from Massachusetts, so he kind of has the, the Maine Boston accent that we can kind of work in there, because that's one thing that always bugs me about films that take place in Maine is 90% of the time the accents are terrible. So it's good
Brad.
when it's genuine,
Oh, what's his name? Fred. Jesus, it was terrible.
Not Fred Ward.
It's Pet Cemetery stuff, and it was terrible.
Take coffee.
Oh, it's just awful.
My cousin's in that, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
I remember it all happening around here. It just I wasn't very good at getting my way.
It filmed about 45 minutes from where I live.
Oh yeah.
My cousin has an uncredited role in it, but you see him like 5 or 6 times throughout the movie. He was cast, I believe, as Burly Guy, because he played one of the mill workers. So he's very clearly on screen several times during the film.
They've got shots of a place I used to go and hang out with my friend Chuck, whose family owns the place. And it's funny because I watch it and it's like it's a private property that nobody would go to. And it's like, wait a minute, the film just stopped and they just started showing me a pathway that only I know about. It's kind of weird. Doesn't make any sense.
So,
but
but that's one thing that I was very excited about, so it's like, all right, you've got a native New Englander. So I'm hoping, the accents and stuff are going to be, and generally the rest of the cast are all locals. So it's going to be very exciting to kind of see that whole thing come to life and be a part of it.
No, it is going to be fun. And like I said in our other interview where I interviewed you, we're going to make you famous both ways. I still don't know what the hell that means. I say a lot of things that probably have very, very little meaning. But no, it is going to be good, and he's going to be perfect for the role. And this is going to be for us, it's a very good exercise in what it is we are claiming it is we do, which is make film. Here, it's not an original screenplay from one of us immediately or just an in-house thing. It's actually the adaptation, and I think that's good for us to go and do it and to get our heads around making somebody else's story.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And, I had talked to a few other people about possibly adapting stuff before, and it just didn't pan out. So, when I gave Shane my short story collection, and he gave it to George, and George was reading through it, and he said, Shane come over about an hour later and he's like, we want to make this one. I was like, you picked the most Maine film of that short story, the most Maine story of that, coastal Maine, it's that idyllic scenery that everybody thinks of when they think of Maine.
Yeah.
Perfect. So it's like, that's perfect because it's a very dark side, kind of, but I tried to make it a very Maine story too, and not just Freddie Ricker's character and the town, because so much about Maine is the towns themselves have their own little life of their own and their own story to tell, I guess, and having that character as a fixture in the town tells a lot about the town and the blind eye that small towns turn to things and how oblivious they are to what's going on around them.
Yep. Everybody knows, but nobody knows.
Right, exactly. People like, the kids down the road are whispering about the crazy old fella or whatever type thing. And there's, always the small town gossip thing. And so, yeah, I'm very excited for that to start shooting this summer, and you guys actually have a bunch of other projects that I'm sure we can't talk about, but well, I know about them, but
we do have a lot of other stuff coming up. I believe we're gonna after we've completed Chum, we're gonna start working on another feature length film, which is probably going to be more in a psychological horror vein. There'll be plenty of practical effects, and there will be horror, but it's going to, I don't know. I don't want to get into it too much for those same reasons.
Yeah.
But we've got a bunch of stuff we've got on the plate, and we're planning on doing.
You know, because being me, I'm always thinking of stuff, and I'm always throwing stuff Shane's way. And we were talking the other day, and he's like, "Dude, I literally am going to be booked up for about the next 3 years with all the stuff we've already got working on right now." I'm like, "That's awesome, man." I said, "But you know, I'm still going to throw you a bunch of stuff anyway because that's just me, and I like throwing those ideas out there, you know."
And that's where the good ones come from all of a sudden that will make us stop whatever we're doing and do something different. I just wanted to say something in the midst of all this while I was thinking about it. I think that probably one of the biggest, I hesitate to use the word, but probably one of the biggest blessings that we have encountered in all of this would be these people that we have worked with that all want to do it. And I don't want to get into necessarily naming names, but we have just encountered some of the greatest people who really truly want to do it and have no, the ego thing gets checked at the door. And that's not normal when you're doing it professionally because, like I said, you go to an audition and you really should go there with the mind to be chest out about everything and, you know, kind of showing off your best thing and not letting anybody get to you. So it kind of becomes that from everybody, and that's usually not very comfortable. We have been successful at what we've done because of the people that we have worked with. And, I mean, literally, the people that are featured in the movie, Bill Casanelli, Star Ferris, Michael Ring, Craig Capone, Bill McDonough, these people that just have all contributed. Pete Haas, who's brought us music as well as acted in the films and is willing to continue to work with us still, and has brought a lot of music. It's really fascinating. People don't always just come up and bring a talent to the fold as an actor. A lot of people show up and want to do something else and are willing to do behind the scenes stuff as well as act. And I honestly just wanted to mention it because I believe that is literally the reason that we are experiencing any success at this. And in my mind, and when I say success, I'm not talking about dollars. I'm talking about the fact that we are doing it and people appreciate it and we can springboard from that and do more of it. That's what success is to me.
Exactly. You know, a question I always got asked a lot as a musician, you know, because I kind of gave it up a few years ago and, you know, it come to the point where while I still enjoyed making music, it's a huge time commitment.
Yeah.
and as most musicians, current musicians today will tell you, unless you are playing in a cover band, playing original music, it's very difficult to make any money.
It's a death knell, and it's very, very hard. Nobody will book you.
And it's hard to get shows. When you get shows, it's hard to even make gas money.
That's right.
You know, I was traveling and playing in New Hampshire and Boston and, you know, all over Maine. And
oh, good Lord.
While it was a blast and I enjoyed doing it, you know, I got, as I've said many times on the show, I got to do a lot of very cool things that I only dreamed about doing as a kid. You know, I played a show for almost 11,000 people.
Oh, nice.
You know,
yep.
I played several shows for like 4,000 to 5,000 people. And it's you know, I felt like a rock star in those moments, I guess, if that's the best way to describe it. You know, walking out and just seeing a sea of people and people like actually enjoying what you're doing. That to me, what to me was the, you know, the successful part, that I had people that enjoyed what we did and would come up and say, you know, a random person would stop me and be like, "Oh, hey, you're TJ from In the Kingdom of Nightmares," or, you know, "Oh, I love your band," and blah, blah, you know, whatever. That to me was success. It wasn't, because guess what? I spent more money than I ever made being in a band, you know?
They didn't come up to you and say, "How can I meet Gary Porter?"
Maybe once or twice.
'Cause, I mean, when we played out with Gary, that's what happened to us.
Well, I'm the lead singer, so it's always about me.
I understand. I keep trying to tell Gary that drums don't count, dude, but he doesn't listen.
I also had a couple times I had my favorite moment. Not to get too off track, I can't remember if I've ever talked about this on the show before, but one of my favorite moments ever being a musician was a young lady come up to me after the show. She was probably 15 or 16, and she says, my friend really wants to tell you that you're awesome and your band is great. And I'm like, well, why doesn't your friend come over? I was like, well, why doesn't your friend come over? And, I said, I'm not going to bite. I said, I'm a friendly guy. She said she is scared shitless to come talk to you because she thinks you're so scary on stage with the way you look and how intense you are. And just, I'm just, like for me, like a lot, like you talk about acting, you're a different person. When I was on stage, I'm a different person.
It's all an act.
There was on stage TJ persona and off stage TJ persona. On stage TJ persona was everything that I am pissed off about for the week is getting out of my system, and I'm just letting it out, and I feel like $1 million after. So it's very intense and angry, and I probably look very scary. But I was like, no. I said I am a giant teddy bear. I was like, don't tell anybody that, but I'm a giant teddy bear. I was like, just come over and I'll talk to her. And I signed some stuff, and she thought that was like the greatest. The look on her face and how excited she was like she had just met name random rock singer guy, but to her that was a big deal. And that right there those were like the moments that was made me feel successful, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with, yes, those are the moments because you feel the recognition of your fellow human
and it feels
than a dollar.
Right. And it feels like genuine, it's genuine appreciation for what you did and them enjoying it. I had talked to, industry people and they would heap praise on you and 90% of it felt like complete and utter lip service,
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
You kids are going places, you're going to be huge type bullshit, and it's like.
You've got the sound. You've got that sound.
Until next week when the new thing comes along and that's not the sound,
Yeah, that's right. I had a woman. And we played a show in Fairfield with another band. We were opening. We'd all arranged this whole thing. So it was at the arena there, the auditorium there. And so we came off the stage and I was going to go out front and have a cigarette. And I think 35 people showed up at the show. So they didn't see most of ours. They were showing up as we were playing.
Right.
And as I came around to the lobby, there's this guy and he's like, "Oh, come with me." And he kind of drags me down the rest of the hall. And we come down the hall, and there is apparently his wife and 3 of his children. And he's screaming like, "I've got him! I've got him!" And I'm like, "Oh, no.
You're going to get kidnapped. All right.
Like, what the hell's happening?" And the woman, his wife, I would assume, came up with a Sharpie out of nowhere and put her daughter, the littlest one, directly in front of her, put her hands on her shoulder and the Sharpie out in front of her and went, "Sign my 11-year-old's forehead." And I was like, I don't think I can do that. And I ended up going and getting them all photos of the band and having the band sign them because it was the only way I could get the hell away.
Right.
I was actually a little freaked out. Like, do you know that that's not a good idea for me to put my signature on your daughter's forehead in indelible ink?
This is how 4 out of 5 musicians get kidnapped and end up in a basement, Jason.
Yeah, right. See, I would do horror movies later, but right at that time, I really just wanted to play music and have a cigarette,
Holy cow, having a brain cramp. Sorry. Happens on occasion. I am known to have brain cramps, especially on a Monday.
Oh,
You know,
I mean, music, movies, writing, good Lord, podcasts, there's a whole lot going on there for you.
yeah, and then real life, trying to balance all that out. But, hey,
There's a real life?
well, work and
Oh.
not work, but yeah. The, we're already like 50 minutes into the show. As I told you, it'd go by quick.
It was very, very fast.
So, where can people check out the films and stuff you've been in so far?
Well, the films I've been in so far, most of which are random and buried, and some are even commercials. What we're doing though now, and what we have been doing, and what Shane and GQ and I have worked at now for the last 5 years, is all under the heading of Cemetery Theater, and you could find that at cemeterytheater.com. We have a presence on Facebook if you search for Cemetery Theater. Also, you will find we have a YouTube page, Cemetery Theater, and we've offered a couple of films we've made. We've posted them up there for free.
Both Blind Date and House Rules?
No, Blind Date, House Rules, and Sleep Eater, the original Sleep Eater.
Nice.
And all three of those films are up there. They're all shorts and can be watched for absolutely nothing. And clips, I believe there are clips from Sleep Eaters as well, and the new film, which we will be promoting coming Saturday at the Bar Harbor Comic-Con.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to put up a link when you guys actually start doing your pre-orders. I'll throw a link up on the Average Joe's page and my writing page and stuff, just to support what you guys are doing and help out that way. I know I already told Shane, make sure you're going to cross one of those reservations off for me, because I will be ordering my copy on Saturday.
Nice.
So
nice. Well, we've got him hiding. We've got that little elf hiding in a closet right now, probably editing the last stuff that he has to put all this together.
Oh, I'm sure that's a monumental task, doing a feature and trying to work and do everything else. It's in trying to plan this other stuff that's coming up. And
well, have you ever seen all those names at the end of a big film like Star Wars or anything? Just name any film.
You got your editor, your assistant editor, your second AD, your
yeah. There's like this list of like hundreds of names, and we have Shane, so it takes a little longer.
Hey. As long as it gets done and it comes out as a good thing, that's all that matters. It's not the journey, but how you get there.
Sure, and we keep him bald so that he doesn't have to actually wash his hair, because that takes too much time in the shower and he needs to get back to editing.
You are allowed half an hour of sleep, one meal a day.
Right.
We'll let you out of the dungeon to go to the bathroom and shower. That's it.
Yep, that's right.
So, as I was saying earlier, I want to talk a little bit about, some film stuff. So what are some of your favorite films, that you kind of grew up on, or that really made an impact on you as far as being an actor?
I think probably, and Shane actually bought me a copy of this on DVD recently, because I was talking about it. One of my favorite films from 1987, and it had a tremendous impact on me, as far as wanting to be an actor and wanting to do what I saw happening, was a movie called Angel Heart that starred Mickey Rourke
and Laura Dern. No, that was Wild at Heart that had Laura Dern. And yeah. Okay.
Right. No, this also has Robert De Niro
nice.
as well, playing Satan, basically, or playing Lucifer.
Boy, that's not a typecast role for De
No.
Niro, but that's okay.
No, that's not weird,
No,
right?
not at all.
No, but it just, the way the movie was, and for that period of time, Mickey Rourke made a few very good films and proved himself to be seemingly an adaptable actor. And I kind of took a shine onto that. I thought, wow, if I could kind of do films like that, it's not necessarily horror. It's not romantic comedy. It's kind of this weird psychological thriller films. And,
kind of blurs the line from, I actually have never seen it, but I have heard everybody talk about it. So I need to rectify the situation and watch that soon.
I'll lend you my copy because it's awesome. No, Angel Heart I can't think of tons of them. I saw Star Wars when it came out in 1977. It changed my life. Did you know there are robots in space?
I do now.
Well, it's amazing. I didn't know until I was 7 years old.
I was I was introduced to Star Wars shortly after, I think, Empire came out. I was 3. So
nice.
I got my first Star Wars toys about them because I actually remember for my 4th or 5th birthday, I got to go see Return of the Jedi in the theater. And
nice.
That was pretty much the coolest thing ever. And,
it because of Jar Jar Binks.
No.
Right?
No. Return of the Jedi, the original, 84,
I'm sorry,
85.
not
Jabba the Hutt.
Phantom.
Jabba the Hutt. Yeah.
Much better. Sorry, I was thinking about the Phantom
Princess
Menace.
Leia in the slave girl outfit, even though I was 5. Yeah. That just set me on a path of, yeah.
it was perfect. I mean, and there were reptiles. It seemed like.
Much like Linnea Quigley in Return of the Living Dead, which has given me a lifelong obsession with goth and punk girls.
Right. I just like hair buns because
the cinnamon bun on the side of the head really gets the juices flowing for you.
Honest to God, I just think, how long did she sit in that chair to do that?
They were probably a hair extension piece that just got clipped on.
Yeah, they used Velcro after a while. Oh my God! Yeah, we got to cut. The bun's falling off.
Yeah. Carrie's bun fell off again. Mark, can you stunt double for Mark Hamill? Can you please swing across this chasm again? The hair bun fell off halfway through, and it's screwing up the shot. Yeah. We can't have that.
Christ, we're going to be weeks in retakes. It's terrible. No, Star Wars was. Okay, so the first action figure that Kenner put out, it was really a terrible thing they did. It's a lot like what we're doing with pre-order. They put out some action figures right after 1977 on the release, and the first one that was available was not Luke Skywalker, which would have been a really, really smart move, but instead they put out the Stormtrooper. And you couldn't get anything else but a damn Stormtrooper. And I mean, it made people want the other action figures, I understand, but that's just stupid. And I wanted to say that live and chastise Kenner a little bit because I wanted a damn Luke, or at least a Leia with removable hair buns.
So if you're interested in the whole fascination about the Star Wars toys, there's a great series on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us that has an entire episode dedicated to, you guessed it, Star Wars toys. And they talk about some of this stuff on there. So it's very, very cool to check out. So yeah, The Toys That Made Us on Netflix. Go check that out.
I think I've seen it. I think they should all go see it because
it's very interesting, especially for people that grew up with that stuff. There's also one on G.I. Joe, He-Man, and My Little Pony.
Yeah, the G.I. Joe one's awesome.
Oh, yeah, very cool. How they pretty much stole the idea. Yeah.
Well, that's what it's all about. I mean, really, Hollywood, it's a lot about stealing stuff. Don't tell anybody I said that, though.
It's everything is influenced by something else. It's very obvious in 90% of anything that's done artistically. It's really, that's an interesting thing is seeing certain directors and who they were influenced by and how they try to emulate those directors to an extent, but in the process of doing it, kind of create their own voice after a while, and then that becomes their style. Then you see the next generation of directors emulating the directors that were emulating the directors before them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess what you're saying in an overall sort of bubble dome sort of way, we live in this giant cargo cult.
Pretty much. We are in a continuous loop, whether we realize it or not, where we're repeating the same things over and over and just slightly changing it to fit the modern narrative.
Oh, I didn't want to actually admit that I saw that years ago, because I'm not paying any attention, and it is not a cargo cult. Everything's new to me and happenstance. All the time, like, wow, the sun's out today. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So is that why when something strange and odd happens, it throws everybody off so badly? And it takes you that you have that panic moment where you're trying to reset and you're trying to figure stuff out, and you're, having those moments of serendipity, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you break the loop in a computer program and the whole computer crashes.
This proves we're living in the Matrix,
Oh my God. Don't say that. We'll all disappear.
Do you want the red or the blue pill? That's the question. Do you want to stay numb to the fact, or do you want to step outside the machine and see it for what it truly is?
I really thought I'd take both and just see like what kind of high it was all about.
Then you become the ghost of Matrix Past, where you're stuck in between both worlds. There you go. There is another idea for a story. Write it down. It's about the guy that takes the two pills, and he's not really in either world, and he basically becomes a ghost of the machine.
Oh, we'll call it the Matrix effect.
Yes, there you go.
It's terrible.
The Matrix effect, Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. Ghost, I like it.
We'll rip off at least 3 franchises right there in one shot. It's a little bit Mission Impossible, little bit Matrix, little bit 13 Ghosts, all wrapped into one.
And a whole bunch of names that don't mean anything together.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. It's basically a Japanese animated film.
Oh my God, then it can be anything.
Bubble gum shoestring apple.
Right. That's right.
I love Japanese animation. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on Japanese animation, but some of the titles are just confusing.
Well, it's beautiful, so it doesn't have to make sense, I guess.
Yes, exactly. So
art doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. Art is chaos, one way or the other. It may be organized chaos, as I like to say, but it is chaos.
Right. Right. Like music. Music is pretty chaotic, but it has to be organized.
Oh, exactly. And you get, somebody asked me one time why I like doing that stuff. I said, because it's organized chaos. I said,
yeah.
You know what you're doing. You're executing what you know you're supposed to be doing, but at any time there's the chaos variable that falls in and can change the whole perspective and outcome of what you are doing at that moment, that can change it for better or for worse. So you have that chaos moment all thrown in there. That's one of the fun things I always loved about being a musician or an artist or anything, because it's just, when you're creating art, there's always those moments of chaos that change the whole thing going forward. I guess it will change what you had planned, gets thrown out the window, and now this is the route we're going.
Often, and I've noticed this to be true, that change, you end up with something you never would have even expected, and it's better than what you were doing in the first place.
Oh, exactly. I get asked a lot about a question I get asked a lot and see a lot of people asking writers or musicians. It's like, do you outline stuff, and it's like some people stick to a very stringent outline.
Right.
Everything is mapped out ahead of time, point A to point B, B to C, C to D. They don't really deviate from that. I'm a train of thought writer. I have a rough outline in my head and a basic story plot that I will put down that gives me the general gist of what's going on. But I always like to let my writing take itself where it needs to go, as I like to say. I don't want to stifle it by keeping it inside the box. I want it to run loose and, maybe throw me that curveball that changes the whole narrative but makes the story 100 times better.
Oh, I agree. Writing songs, I would say that I am a train of thought comes right out of the heart. Half the time I don't even know why I'm writing some of these words if I'm just in that bent and in that moment. And I'll get through 2 verses and then there's the 3rd verse. Because it's got to have a 3rd verse to be a whole song, right? So, and then the damn thing shuts off inside of me and I sit there for an hour looking at the paper. That's my structure in writing a song.
When not being able to come up with a 3rd verse, repeat the 1st verse.
Yep, that 2X with parentheses, that solves a lot of problems.
Yes, it does. I've gone to that well many times over the years when writing song lyrics.
Yes, and thank God the damn letters are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because if there were more, it might be confusing.
Oh, absolutely. That was one thing I don't know about you, but for me, I have like notebooks full of song lyrics, and I know some writers like to write their lyrics to the songs. I've never been that guy. I like to get the song in my head when we would jam on it or whatever, then start going through lyrics and I'd kind of sing them out and be like, I'd get the cadence down, and be like, nope, nope, nope. Ooh, this one fits perfectly. So, I let the music find the lyrics instead of the other way around.
Yeah, I don't force songs. I got some idea in my head, or I'll be playing some round of chords that sounds okay, and all of a sudden words start coming out, and I don't push it, and if they're weird, well, I might rewrite it later because whatever I wrote didn't make sense, but it's not about sitting down with a notepad and getting every word down and getting things written in order. I've got songs written on the back of power bills, like. Oh,
I have song lyrics that I wrote on the back of like baker sheets when I worked at a bakery when I'd be on my lunch break that I'd have an idea for a song and I'd write it down.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I'm not that organized dude that way. And I find that when I tried to be about it, it kind of ruined the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
So
I kind of have found that with my writing as well. When I try to be real strict and, I've got to write for 2 hours every night. It works in both positive and negatives. I have a tendency to get a lot out, but I also have a tendency to not be as creative instead of just writing when I feel like it, I guess, and kind of getting it out there. Because when I'm not forcing myself to do it, I have a tendency to have more ideas and think outside the box more than when I'm knowing I have to do it, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people ask me why I don't submit a lot of my manuscripts to publishing houses and stuff. Part of the reason because I don't want to be on a time scheduled crunch to get something done. I want to be able to do it and release it as I feel comfortable doing it.
Right. Yep. And that creativity dictates that more than, that's part of the problem. When you start to try to put all these borders and things and make them this way and force something to be this way, it's like the antithesis of being creative at all. When that lightning rod is sticking up out of your brain and everything's coming into it the way it should, it isn't because you've decided at 5 o'clock I'm going to start making something.
No.
It's because It's because you're driving somewhere at 3 a.m. and your eyes are half closed and the coffee tastes like shit and you really need to get to where you're going and you get this brilliant idea. And that's when you go with it. And I don't know, I've never been able to just sit down and be like, okay, it's time to make this happen.
No. When those lightning strike moments hit, though, that's when I try to write at least the rough idea down. So, because if I write the rough idea, I don't know about you, but I can go back to it and look at it 3 months later, and I know exactly what I'm talking about 90% of the time.
In 4 words or less, even. Yeah.
Usually with me for a book, it's like a couple of paragraphs, but yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, yeah, I understand, but I mean, like, I don't write books, I write songs, so, my best example is Wayward Reefer Addict. It might be appearing in a movie soon, but it was a thought I had while I was lobster fishing. And it's just really strange. We'd taken a break and we were having a cup of coffee and I was looking at a bunch of seagulls and I thought, you know what? I kind of feel like a wayward reefer addict. And it just stuck. And I wrote those words down. And for me as a songwriter, I crafted a whole song out of that because I remembered exactly what the idea was that inspired me at the time.
Right. You had the precipice for the whole thing right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it didn't go away because I actually put it in material word form somewhere, probably also on an envelope.
Pieces of paper of any sort fall victim to creative output at random times. So,
That's right.
But yeah, man, well, we gotta kind of wrap the show up here. It's getting to that time. And like I said, it goes by way too fast because we could probably sit here for 3 more hours and just gab. But
well, we're going to do that on Saturday.
We're going to do that on Saturday. Yes. We're going to talk a lot. I actually have an idea that I'll tell you once, don't go away once the show's end because I want to tell you about it real quick. But for right now, I really want to thank Jason for coming on. Go to www.cemeterytheater.com to check out Cemetery Theater's work. Is there any other social media sites or anything where people can find you?
Oh, I'm terrible about that. No, I exist
off the grid.
Most Cemetery Theater and off the grid.
No problem with that, my friend. Before we go real quick, I'd like to thank my sponsors, the Maine Cannababes. The Cannababes are an awesome group of women doing some great charity work for cannabis causes in the state of Maine. You can go to mainecannababes.com and find out what they're up to. You can meet some of the girls that are going to be on this year's calendar, some of the events they'll be at. There's also lots of good information about laws, regulations, that sort of thing pertaining to Maine and all over. So again, mainecannababes.com. And I will be, as well as Cemetery Theater, will both be at the Bar Harbor Comic-Con this Saturday at the Atlantic Oceanside Inn in beautiful Bar Harbor, Maine. So come down and, come visit us. I'll be selling some books. They'll be taking pre-orders for Sleep Eaters and talking about some other stuff and different projects and just all kinds of cool stuff. So, and there's going to be tons of vendors and guests and stuff. So it's going to be a good time for the whole family. So bring your whole family out and buy stuff from us because we are starving artists. And with that being said, again, man, thank you very much for coming on the show and hanging out and talking. We'll definitely have you back on again. I just want to leave everybody with this one thought. Remember, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. And I will see you sexy animals on the flip side. Thanks for listening to Average Joe's Drive-In. If you'd like to talk movies or contact the show, add our social media pages. You can add us on Facebook at Average Joe's Drive-In Podcast, on Twitter at TWJ Author, on Instagram at Thomas Washburn Jr. You can also hit up www.thomaswashburnjr.com for more information about the show and related links. If you'd like to support the show, you can buy TJ's books on Amazon. Just type in Thomas Washburn Jr. in the search, Books are available in Kindle and paperback formats. If you have Kindle Unlimited or Prime, you can read the books for free and money will be earned by the pages read. It doesn't cost you anything and it supports the show. Until next time, you've been listening to Average Joe's Drive-In.
It's intermission. Rise and stretch time. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for hot popcorn? Your favorite soft drinks are sparkling cold. The juicy Frank sizzling hot. There's delicious coffee, freshly brewed, and all kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time. So stretch your legs. Come to the snack bar now.